Lesson 10, Sahih al-Bukhari. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma akhrijna min zulumatil wahm wa akrimna binuril fahm. Allahumma aftah alayna abwaba rahmatik wanshur alayna khazaina ulumik birahmatika ya arhamar rahimin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Welcome to Lesson 10 about Sahih al-Bukhari, Module 2, History of Hadith Compilations. In the previous lesson about Musnad Ahmad ibn Hanbal, we have learned that in the course of the prevalence of Musnad writing in the latter part of the 2nd century and initial part of the 3rd century after Hijrah, Ahmad ibn Hanbal embarked on writing his own Musnad, in which narrations of the Sahaba are reflected. Since it is said that parts of the Musnad were written by Ahmad ibn Hanbal's son and student, and in which weak or da'if and fabricated or maj'ul narrations or riwayat have found their way, this book has been a subject of criticism by Sunni Hadith scholars or muhaddithun. Sahih al-Bukhari. Of the 6 Sunnī Ṣiḥāḥ or Ṣahīḥs, Sahih al-Bukhari is known as the first and most authoritative collection of hadith. As such, more intensive and extensive familiarity with Sahih al-Bukhari introduces us to the most important approaches of Sunni hadith collections. Biography of Muhammad ibn Ismā'il al-Bukhari. Bukhari was born in 194 after Hijrah in Bukhara, one of the important cities of ancient Khurasan and presently one of the cities of Uzbekistan. His ancestry is as follows: Muhammad ibn Ismā'il ibn Ibrahim ibn Mughira ibn Budriya. Bukhari's forefather Budriya al-Farsi was a Zoroastrian, but his son Mughira became Muslim through the hands of Yaman Ju'fi, the then governor of Bukhara. For this reason, Bukhari is also called Ju'fi. Ahmad, you can find as references the following books: Ahmad ibn Ali al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, Tarikh al-Baghdad, I'lam al-Masa'in, among others. Bukhari's father, namely Ismā'il, was one of the scholars of his time. He heard traditions or ahadith from Hamad ibn Zayd and Imam Malik, and narrators of Iraq have narrated traditions from him. Bukhari himself has mentioned him in Tarikh al-Kabir as one of the narrators. Bukhari initially pursued his studies in his birthplace, and since after the death of his father, he inherited abundant wealth. He utilized this wealth for the completion of his studies, and in order to learn from the scholars of hadith, he traveled to different cities. Speaking of jurisprudential school or madhab, Bukhari belongs to the Shafi'i madhab, as Sabaki in Tabaqatu Shafi'iyya and Sadiq Hasan Khan in Abjadul Ulum have considered him among the Shafi'is, and in terms of theology or kalam, he subscribed to predestination or jabr, the createdness or khalq of the Quran, and in general to the Asha'ira or Ash'arite doctrines. He had displayed beliefs in predestination, visibility or ru'ya of God, and other anthropomorphic attributes of God, which later on have been associated with the Asha'ira school of theology. And his belief in createdness or khalq of the Quran was responsible for the rift between him and hadith authorities. And notwithstanding the support given by the muhaddithun of Nayshabur, he was finally condemned and accused of making innovation in religion, or what we call as bid'ah. Other works. Apart from his Sahih, Bukhari had other works such as the following: Al-Adabul Mufrad, about ethics and etiquettes; At-Tarikhul Kabir, At-Tarikhul Awsat, At-Tarikhul Saghir. It is said that he had written this book during luminous nights in Medina beside the graveyard of the Prophet. It is his work on Rijal. Khalful Af'al, Al-Ibad wa Rad ala al-Jahmiyah. Quwwatul Aynain fi Raf al-Yadain fi Salah. Kitabu Du'afa al-Saghir. I'lamul Masain. I'lamul Masain. Dairatul Ma'arif fi Buzurg Islami. After collecting traditions and compiling his hadith as his Sahih in his travels, Bukhari finally returned to his birthplace in 256 after Hijrah and passed away at the age of 62 in Khartang, one of the villages of Samarkand in today's Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan. The motive of Sahih al-Bukhari's compiler. By undertaking different travels, meeting great muhaddithun, and having ardent desire to memorize and collect traditions, Bukhari acquired extensive knowledge of hadith. Personal merits and the scholar's enthusiasm in learning hadith from him catapulted him to the height of pioneering and authoritative status in hadith. On the other hand, he lived at a time when notwithstanding the people's dire need for traditions, no befitting and sufficient work had been done in collecting, compiling, and modifying traditions. Up until the time of Bukhari, hadith scholars used to pay more attention to the writing of Musnad. Since in Musnad writing, the muhaddith aim is to collect all traditions narrated by a companion or sahabi, the credibility and correctness of the chain of transmission of the traditions is given less attention. Notwithstanding the compilation of different musnads or masanid prior to Bukhari, none of these works was unanimously accepted by the Sunni community. From each dimension, therefore, the necessary ground for the compilation of his Sahih had been paved. The call of Ishaq ibn Rahuya to compile a collection of authentic traditions left a deep impression in Bukhari, thus prompting him to pursue the compilation of his Sahih. By the way, Ishaq ibn Rahuya was one of his prominent teachers. Sahih al-Bukhari's credibility and standing according to Sunni scholars or Ulama. In defending the credibility of Sahih al-Bukhari, all Sunni hadith scholars and authorities have cited this statement of Bukhari himself. I have compiled the book Sahih from 600,000 traditions for 16 years, and I have included only the traditions which are proof between myself and my God, unquote. On the authority of Ibrahim ibn Mu'aqil, on the authority of Bukhari, Al-Dhahabi thus narrates, in this book I did include any tradition except the authentic ones, and in order to make it concise, I refrained from including other authentic traditions. Bukhari's obsession in selecting traditions, performance of istikhara, offering of prayer before including a tradition, naming the book al-Jami al-Sahih, the collection of the authentic, are all the proofs which, according to the Sunni scholars, can be presented to establish the credibility of the traditions of the book according to its compiler. By the way, istikhara, we refer to the practice of looking for a good augury for something by consulting the Quran. Meanwhile, it is said that after the compilation, Bukhari presented his book to Hadith luminaries such as Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Yahya ibn Mu'in, Ali ibn Madini, and many others. And with the exception of 4 traditions, they also attested the authenticity of the rest of traditions. According to the Sunni Muhaddithun, all this, along with intellectual and spiritual standing of Bukhari, gave credence to his Sahih book, such that everybody thus says with certainty, Sahih al-Bukhari is the most authentic and superior book after the Quran. Kastalani thus says, Sahih al-Bukhari is the most authentic book ever compiled in the field of Hadith, which has been accepted by scholars in every period and in all aspects and dimensions. It is superior to all its contemporaries. Also, regarding the book, al-Dhahabi thus says, Sahih al-Bukhari is the noblest book of Islam and the most superior book after the Quran. In this regard, Shafi'i also believes that Sahih al-Bukhari is the most authentic of books. Sahih al-Bukhari is the most authentic book ever compiled in the field of Hadith, which has been accepted by scholars in every period and in all aspects and dimensions. It is superior to all its contemporaries. Also, regarding the book, al-Dhahabi thus says, Sahih al-Bukhari is the noblest book of Islam and the most superior book after the Quran. Ibn Taymiyyah is also of the opinion that under the sky there is no book more authentic than Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim after the Quran. An-Nawawi has stated thus, the ulama unanimously believe that the most authentic book after the Quran is Sahih al-Bukhari, and the Ummah collectively accepts these 2 books, and in comparison to Sahih Muslim, Bukhari's book is more authentic and useful. Defending the authenticity of Bukhari's traditions is such that so far we have not come across anyone from among Sunni authorities who regard as fabricated or maj'ul even a single tradition from Sahih al-Bukhari. What they have acknowledged was the weakness of the chain of transmission or sanad or text or matan of only 110 traditions of Sahih al-Bukhari, and if anyone who would dare to criticize some parts of it as Rashidul Rida or Mahmud Abu Riya did, he would be condemned and reproached by the Sunni ulama. Motives behind the Sunni scholars' attitude towards Sahih al-Bukhari. It seems that the following factors have contributed to Sahih al-Bukhari's having such high credibility for the Sunni scholars. 1. The compiler's personality. Bukhari had never engaged in any work other than Hadith, and from every aspect, he possessed the necessary distinction to undertake such compilation work according to the Sunni scholars. He learned from the best of Hadith teachers and undertook numerous travels so as to learn Hadith. Besides, he had a strong memory, which was very effective in reporting Hadith during that time. Memorization of 200 traditions is a manifestation of this point. Number 2. Precedence of the book. Prior to Sahih al-Bukhari, two outstanding works in the field of compiling traditions had been done, namely Al-Muwatta by Malik ibn Anas and Musnad Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Al-Muwatta, on account of its lack of comprehensiveness and ijtihadi style, and Musnad Ahmad ibn Hanbal, on account of its having weak and fabricated traditions, as explained earlier, were not able to possess the excellent status of Sahih al-Bukhari. From the Sunni point of view, therefore, Sahih al-Bukhari is the most comprehensive and at the same time the most reliable book ever produced in the long history of Hadith compilation, that is, from the first half of the 3rd century after Hijrah. Number 3. Accuracy and meticulousness in recording. In addition to the compiler's personality and precedence of the book, Bukhari's great efforts in selecting authentic traditions and, of course, in excluding a great deal of authentic traditions as well, have bestowed such esteem and status to his book. He had once explained that out of 600,000 traditions, he selected around 7,000 authentic traditions, that is 100th. No doubt, selecting this limited number from a multitude of traditions requires much deliberation and diligence. Meanwhile, it is said that even after compiling the book, he would not make any haste in promoting and presenting it. In fact, he presented it to outstanding teachers such as Ibn Hanbal and others, so as to be certain about its authenticity. The duration of compiling the book, that is 16 years or even more, is a manifestation of this meticulousness. Familiarity with the commentaries on Sahih al-Bukhari. Since Sahih al-Bukhari is regarded as the most authentic and reliable Sunni Hadith reference, most of the written commentaries are related to this book. The most important commentaries on Sahih al-Bukhari are as follows. Al-Kawaqib ad-Durari. This treatise is written by Shamsuddin Muhammad ibn Yusuf Kermani. After praising Bukhari, he states in his book that he visited different parts of the Muslim world and did not find a desirable and suitable commentary on it. Regarding it as insufficient, the commentaries such as Shar ibn Batal and Shar Mughlita Turki. As such, he wrote a commentary on it. He explained that in his commentary, Hadith terminologies, topics in Arabic syntax, jargons of Hadith scholars, issues in jurisprudence, correct recording of traditions, correction to the names of narrators, and reconciling outwardly contradictory traditions have been given attention. It is also claimed that studying this commentary makes one needless of 1,000 books or more. Number 2, Fathul Bari, Sharh Sahih al-Bukhari. This book is written by Zainuddin Abul Faraj ibn Shahabuddin Baghdadi, better known as Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, who was one of the Hadith scholars of the 8th century after Hijrah. He was born in 736 after Hijrah in Baghdad, and in order to learn and acquire Hadith, he traveled to the cities of Egypt, Makkah, Medina, and Jerusalem. In addition to teaching and writing, he was also engaged in giving sermons, as many as 70 works, such as Ahkamul Khawatim, Jami'ul Ulum wal Hakam, fi Tafsir Suratul Ikhlas, and others have been attributed to him. His commentary on Sahih al-Bukhari has been described as one of the most important and useful commentaries. This commentary covers up to Kitabul Janaiz, the book of funerals, and Ibn Rajab was not able to finish it. The said commentary, which is published in 10 volumes, contains the views and statements of Hadith scholars and jurisprudence or fuqaha, and it lacks topics about the Hadith narrators. Out of the 93 sections of Sahih al-Bukhari, for our information, Kitabul Janaiz is the 23rd chapter, which can be found in the latter portion of Volume 2 of the English translation. Number 3. Fathul Bari fi Sharh Sahih al-Bukhari. The said book is written by Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. He is one of the most renowned and erudite Sunni scholars who are authorities and authors in the fields of Arabic language and literature, history, exegesis or tafsir, jurisprudence, and hadith. Sakhawi has attributed as many as 270 works to him. Ibn Hajar's commentary is the most complete commentary ever written on Sahih al-Bukhari, and it has been well received and given attention from the very beginning. After narrating each of the tradition of Bukhari, he embarks on examining all aspects and details of each hadith transmitters by using sources and views of authorities on the science of Rijal, thereby identifying the degree of authenticity of the hadith. He then undertakes the examination of the hadith text by using all principles of fiqh hadith, including linguistic subjects, hadith terminologies, theological discourses, historical accounts, etc. Edited by Muhammad Fuad Abdul Baqi, this commentary is published in 15 volumes. Number 4. Umdatul Qari fi Sharh Sahih al-Bukhari. The said book is written by Badruddin Abu Muhammad ibn Ahmad al-Aini. He was born in Ain Tab and passed away in Cairo in 855 after Hijrah. He learned the sciences of hadith from such teachers as Zainuddin Iraqi, Sirajuddin Balqaini, Nuruddin Haythami, and others. He had profound knowledge of hadith, jurisprudence, history, and Arabic languages and literature. Among his works, Tabaqatul Hanafiya, Iqdul Jamal, Zainul Majalis, Sharih as-Sadur, and others can be mentioned. In the introduction of the book Sharh Sahih al-Bukhari, he declares that before writing the said commentary, he has written commentaries on the book Ma'ani al-Akhbar, Tahawi, and Sunan Abu Dawud. Then, with the insistence of a group of his teachers, he has embarked on giving commentary on Sahih al-Bukhari. Al-Aini's commentary is one of the detailed commentaries on Sahih al-Bukhari, in which the commentator has embarked on examining the narrators and chains of transmissions, explaining the variations in the traditions, elucidating points of differences of the jurisprudence, and putting forth subjects on fiqh al-hadith in the form of question and answer. His style of selecting the subjects in this book is quite interesting, because after quoting the tradition and by making use of such expressions as bayanur rijala, bayan qasd mawdu'a, waman akhraja ghayru, bayan i'rabi, bayan al-ma'ani wal bayan, and bayan istinbat al-murad, he has discussed each of these subjects separately. This commentary is published in 24 volumes in 12 book racks. Number 5. Irshadu Sari li Sharh Sahih al-Bukhari. This book is written by Ahmad ibn Muhammad al-Shafi'i al-Qastalani. In the introduction of this book, he says that since youth, he had been thinking of writing a commentary on Sahih al-Bukhari until finally, after the removal of obstacles, he had succeeded in doing so. Before embarking on the commentary, he has put forth important and substantial discourses in the following 5-point introductions, namely 1. Concerning the virtue of the people of Hadith. Number 2. Concerning the history of Hadith and the first codifier of Hadith. Number 3. Number 3, overall explanation of hadith terminologies. Number 4, on the defense of Sahih al-Bukhari and reply to criticisms. And number 5, on the personal background of Bukhari. Similar to the commentary of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, this commentary is replete with discussions on Rijal and Fiqh al-Hadith and edited by Muhammad Abdul Aziz. And edited by Muhammad ibn Abdul Aziz, it is published in 15 volumes. Number 6, Sharh Sahih al-Bukhari. This commentary is written by Abul Hasan Ali ibn Khalaf ibn Abdul Malik, better known as Ibn Battal. After Khattabi's commentary, the said commentary is the oldest commentary on Sahih al-Bukhari, and it contains the views of the companions and followers, or Sahaba and Tabi'un, on the interpretation of Quranic verses, laws, and schools of thought of the predecessors on debatable issues. In the commentary, the author has paid attention to the explanation of difficult words and expressions in Sahih al-Bukhari. In this commentary, he has concentrated on jurisprudential discussions on the basis of the Maliki madhab, and for brevity's sake, he has only mentioned the latter narrator in the chain of transmission and quoted selected part of the hadith text. Edited by Abu Tamim Yasir ibn Ibrahim, this commentary is published in 10 volumes. Of the other commentaries on Sahih al-Bukhari, the following can be pointed out. 1. إعلام التلويح في شرح صحيح البخاري. التلويح اللامي الصحيح. التوشيح في شرح الجامع الصحيح. and لامي الدراري على جامع البخاري. Key points of the lesson. Of the 6 Sahihs or Siha Sitta, Sahih al-Bukhari by Muhammad ibn Ismā'il al-Bukhari is regarded as the first and the most reliable book of hadith, such that it is considered second to the Quran in authority. Because of his different travels undertaken to acquire knowledge and hear traditions, possession of strong memory, and meticulousness in recording traditions, Bukhari has been admired by all Sunni hadith scholars and biographers. Based upon the recommendation of Bukhari's teacher, that is Ishaq ibn Rahuya, the book Sahih al-Bukhari has been compiled with the aim of collecting the authentic or Sahih from a collection of 600,000 narrations. The author's personality, oldness of the book, and accuracy and meticulousness in recording are among the factors for the preeminence of the book. Sahih al-Bukhari contains 7,536 traditions which have been given commentary or sharh by a group of hadith scholars. Next meeting, we will deal with Sahih Muslim, inshallah. For more similar lessons, subscribe to Wayfaring with Mansoor channel. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.